everyone, I'm Matt Williamson. How's it going? Things are great here. Recording this on Wednesday, and a couple things. I wanted to, first off, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, our buddies. Wanted to discuss some roster moves we talked about a little bit. Not shocking. Jabril Peppers is now officially on the roster, of course. But they also put Pierre on the roster. And they put Harrison on injured reserve as well as Skylar Thompson. Frankly, I was like, did Skylar Thompson get hurt holding the clipboard during the game or what? But I didn't realize he was on the injury report last year. We'll just say that's last week. Kind of convenient. That works out fine. I don't think you're going to miss him for a little. It also implies to me that they must think Howard is ready to come back soon. They have Woodside on the practice squad now. He'll be the emergency third. You would hope you never get to that this week, next week, or whatever. And then I would imagine Howard will come back as the number 3. That's just the way I'm kind of guessing on the quarterback situation, which I'm sure will make a lot of you happy. You guys love Howard. I'm excited about him too. I know you guys think I hate him, but whatever. Anyway, Skylar Thompson goes on injured reserve. You live with 2 quarterbacks for now. Woodside ends up being just that third guy, emergency dude. Cool. Okay. Losing Harrison doesn't really bother me. But a couple things I think you can read from this is because he was also like the 4th outside linebacker. Remember, Tomlin said Herbig and Porter are questionable for this week. I think Herbig probably plays, just my hunch. And you don't need Harrison to be that guy. Holcomb didn't play a snap at inside linebacker, so he's ready to roll. Bruner's there as your 4th guy, although you don't want to get to that point. And Harrison, you lose on special teams. Not the end of the world, but so be it. Now, then you promote Pierre, who is being promoted for special teams. They don't do the exact same thing on teams. But it makes me wonder as well. Like, I understand that with Pierre, you don't want to take him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's only so many times you can do that from the practice squad. So you elevate him to the 53, special teamer. But it also makes me wonder if they think Porter probably won't play in this game, because Eccles can be your 3, then Pierre's your 4. I'm just guessing. That's just my slight hunch on that. But I like the way that they finagled this situation. I'm excited to see Peppers. Good stuff there. Pierre, somebody we're obviously very familiar with. Losing Harrison and Skylar Thompson really doesn't affect you all that much on game day. All things considered, especially Skylar, of course. Football season is finally here. Time to be checked out on the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Think the Steelers will head to the Super Bowl? Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so you can join in on all the action. So get on that.
Hey guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase.
Another subject I just wanted to bring up that's I've been kicking it around all day, and I don't know that they see it this way. I have no idea. But something I would really, really consider is this run defense. It's no one single player's fault. But the D-line, I think, is where you need to start addressing things. And several of you have asked me, should they go get a Casey Hampton-like nose and just stick him in the middle of the defense? Yeah, sure, that'd help. I mean, Hampton would help anything, of course. But, I mean, you could even get lesser versions of anchors in the middle. I get that. But I also think there's a misconception that a run defense stinks, so give me a nose. It's not really how the league works anymore. There's a lot more of getting a lot of people to the ball, faster players, gang tackling, etc. And that being said, I don't think Benton's a nose. And the more I watch him, and especially in this game, he too often is getting driven back into Wilson and Queen and not allowing them to do their job. He too often gets moved. Now, nose tackles in this defense don't just two gap and eat up space like they did back in the day. So you want more active guys than the Hampton Steeds of the world. But Benton, to me, can still be a very good player, but I think they're miscasting him as a nose. And we're now into the beginning of year 3. Now, the thing that's tricky here, though, is if you put him as a 4-eye, as a Cam Hayward, is an inside shade on the offensive tackle, it's not something he's done a lot of. I mean, it's kind of like asking a guard to play tackle or a tackle to play center. There's different angles. There's different run play responsibilities. So on early downs, he would need a lot of work there. You can't just ask him to do that. Now, his responsibilities in nickel and dime wouldn't change. It's just a defensive tackle, and I think he's good at that. I know his sack numbers haven't been great, but I don't have a lot of problems with him in that role, a 4-man front. I mean, I think that's where he belongs. Now, what do you do at nose? Well, the obvious solution is you ask the big monster rookie Y.A. Black to be a nose. And we've talked about this. He didn't do that at Iowa. Now, he played interior D-line, but mostly 3 technique, which is the outside shoulder of the guard. But I think because he's been so promising, the Steelers have moved him a lot around the defensive line. I think just trying to see what he can do, what he can't. And a lot of that was preseason, against backup Carolina linemen and whatnot. But I think he also passed those tests where he's been really impressive. I think I would start repping him more and more and more, basically as your starting nose or future starting nose or part-time for now nose with Ukele, who I also am pretty happy with. Ukele, I thought, played fine in this game. I think he can do that job for you. Not perfectly. He's not Hampton, but I think he's on early downs in your 3-4 that he can be quite useful, or at least hold down the fort while Benton and Black learn their new rules. And Benton, I guess, could also sub in at nose here and there, situationally. So the thing is, though, wouldn't this have been better? And again, I don't think they agree with me, but if they would be open to such a suggestion, if they're listening to this podcast right now, which they're not, this would have been a great thing to do day 1 of minicamp or OTAs, like in Latrobe at St. Vincent's, not now when you got 3 days to prepare for the Seattle Seahawks, So I think it's kind of a sticky situation, and it feels like I'm only blaming Benton for their run defense woes. I'm not, but I don't think he is a good run defender, especially as nose tackles go. And I think he's very talented and still has a bright future. But I think you're asking him to be a square peg in a round hole. And I do think you have some round pegs that you could probably fill that hole with and be okay. But again, it's going to take a lot of coaching in the midseason and getting on a moving train and all that type of thing. The last note here that I just wanted to bring up after rewatching the game, Hayward was far from great, but I think he'll be okay. I'm not any kind of worried about Cam Hayward. Loudermilk to me was out there way too much. I mean, I don't understand the fascination with him because I think he's a liability in the run game and really offers nothing in the pass game at all, except for batting down passes and being long. So maybe he just gets out of the picture if you make this move and Benton becomes your Loudermilk and rotates with Cam eventually Harmon. And those are your 3 DNs of note. I don't understand why Lee doesn't get a little more action. He plays very, very little. But I would rather roll the dice on Lee than Loudermilk, to be honest with you. And then Ukele and Black are basically noses. You see what I'm saying? And again, in that 4-man front, it's either going to be Cam, Harmon, or Benton. Some combination of those, especially on passing downs. And to me, that's better usage of your defensive line personnel, which I think is talented, but I think they need to find their roles a little bit better. Does that make sense? And then there might be some growing pains with that. Doesn't mean your run defense is going to get fixed with putting people at new positions that have never taken on run plays from that alignment. There probably will be some growing pains, but that's why I would have liked to see something like this happen a while ago. I don't know if they've even considered it. Again, this is just me spitballing, but I want to hear your thoughts. Over now.